What if the apocalyptic supervolcano destined to wipe humanity off the map was already stabilized in an alternate reality by a guy who simply clicked his teeth? Listen to me. I have just unearthed a highly classified, heavily guarded cache of files, the archives of alternate timeline 0, and the transmission we're about to look at completely dismantles everything we thought we knew about human survival. What if the very first god in human history wasn't some warrior or king, but just a man who kept a volcano from blowing its top using dental clicks? Look, this is an ancient mythology, and it's definitely not science fiction. These intercepted files present a reality that is as terrifying as it is profound. We're treating this explainer as an emergency broadcast, because this secret timeline reveals that our own impending geological doom might have a visceral, biological off switch all along. We'll start by looking at what the archives call the Timeline 0 anomaly. To really grasp the sheer magnitude of this anomaly, you have to understand the horrifying reality these humans faced. It wasn't the dawn of civilization as we know it. It was a planetary death sentence. For 50 generations, just an agonizingly long stretch of time, humanity and Universe Zero existed merely as a collective biological mass, just huddled together for warmth in a perpetually freezing, seismically explosive world. But then, right around the year 4000 before convergence, bam, a sudden jarring anomaly occurs. The very first singular figure steps out of the mass. And that brings us to the rise of Vael-Ohm. In a world where attempting individuality was basically synonymous with freezing to death, this single figure stood apart. Vael-Ohm wasn't a conqueror or a chieftain. He was just the first to realize something absolutely profound about how his people communicated. See, they used this thing called the click slate, a series of high-frequency dental clicks meant for basic survival and echolocation in dark volcanic caves. But Vael-Ohm realized these clicks could do so much more. They could actually bridge the gap between human biology and the immense seismic frequencies of the Earth itself. He was essentially mastering acoustic seismology. I need to stress here, this wasn't magic. It was raw, visceral, biomechanical science. Vael-Ohm became the universe's first acoustic seismologist, developing a technique called the art of echo mapping. He discovered that specific high-frequency dental clicks carried the exact acoustic resonance required to interact with the geological makeup of their environment. We're talking specifically about the cooling basalt structures deep within the highly volatile Oschia Rift. Think about that. He was literally using his own teeth and jaw as a biological sonar system to penetrate solid rock. This evolved into an incredible survival mechanic. Step 1, he would press his bare skull right up against the warm, vibrating cave walls. Step 2, he'd emit specific, calculated subvocal hums and clicks. And then, step 3, he'd just wait for the resonance to return. By physically feeling that echo map vibrate through his own bone structure, Vael-Ohm could predict massive magma surges and lethal toxic gas leaks literally days before they breached the surface. He felt the planet's pulse right through his skull. This incredible mastery birthed something entirely new, a preventative mythology. Think about human nature for a second. If you were the only person alive who could predict when the ground would explode, you'd probably make yourself a king, right? But Vael-Ohm refused to rule. Instead, he took on the title of frequency controller. He dedicated his entire life, every single waking, clicking moment, to mapping the volatile heat veins beneath their feet so the collective could survive. He traded supreme power for a profound, crushing responsibility. This leads us to the core philosophical shift of this alternate timeline. You know, our history, the old paradigm, teaches us that the Earth, and especially the destructive forces of volcanoes and earthquakes, are vengeful gods that must be feared and appeased. But Vael-Ohm introduced the new paradigm. He taught the clans that the Earth is a machine to be tuned, a complex geological instrument that responds directly to frequency. The core tenet of this radical new mythology implies a completely mind-bending symbiotic relationship. The archives state that if the acoustic frequency of the people matches the frequency of the magma, the planetary heart remains stable. They didn't run from the apocalypse, no, they literally vibrated in harmony with it to calm it down. They were singing the violent Earth to sleep. And just like that, simple survival becomes deliberate engineering. This exact moment was the turning point where alternate timeline 0 permanently diverged from our own chaotic history. They went from desperate, shivering survival to active geological engineering. They stopped being terrified victims of the planet and became its vital caretakers. The lesson becomes terrifyingly clear when you read the voice of Vael-Ohm directly. The Earth is not a god to be worshipped, but a machine to be tuned. I mean, wow. This timeline survived their impending extinction event only because they fundamentally changed their relationship with nature. They learned to tune the planet using their own biology. As we close this explainer on the Timeline Zero archive, we're left with a pretty chilling realization about our own impending geological disasters. Look around at the rising instability of our world, the constant, unpredictable threats simmering beneath our cities. So, did we fail simply because we never learned to speak the language of the magma beneath our feet? Did we miss the one biological off switch that could have saved us? The blueprint for survival is sitting right here in these alternate archives. The only question is, are we too late to learn the frequency?